I fell asleep during a high-stakes meeting, on my boss's shoulder. I expected embarrassment, maybe even failure. But what she whispered next changed everything. It uncovered betrayal, secrets, and a shocking truth about my past. And when the man who destroyed my life walked in, everything I thought I knew was about to be turned upside down. You will not believe what happens next. The conference room smelled of burnt coffee and quiet judgment. Charts glowed on the wall. Numbers rising. Expectations rising faster. I tried to keep my eyes open. 3 nights without sleep had carved shadows under my eyes and doubt inside my chest. No one in that room knew. I once slept in a cold storage unit behind a grocery store. No one knew. The man presenting billion-dollar projections was once a boy counting coins just to buy bread. My company. My empire. Yet that morning, my strength failed. My head slowly tilted and rested against her shoulder. My boss. The woman who had once believed in me when the world called me a failure. The room fell silent. Someone cleared his throat. Someone whispered my name. Heat rushed to my face. As I woke, embarrassment tightened my chest. A billionaire. Falling asleep in his own board meeting. I straightened quickly. I apologize, I said quietly. But she did not move. Her shoulder remained steady, like a quiet place in a storm. Then she leaned closer and whispered softly, "You can sleep if you want." Those 6 words cut deeper than any criticism. Because she knew. She knew the nights I spent rebuilding the company after my closest partner betrayed me. She knew the investors who laughed when I begged for one more chance. She knew the day I nearly quit. The day I stood on a rainy sidewalk, holding a resignation letter and believing my dream was finished. That was the day she found me. Not as my boss. Not as an executive. But as the woman who quietly handed me an umbrella and said something that rewrote my life. Your failure is only the beginning. If your courage survives. That sentence built an empire. Factories rose. Offices filled. Billions followed. Yet in that meeting room, with my head on her shoulder, I remembered something painful. Something I had hidden. Even from her. A truth about the night my first company collapsed. And the promise I made to myself that no one knew about. I looked at her, ready to finally tell her everything, when the door of the conference room suddenly opened, and the man who destroyed my life walked in. The room turned cold. Every eye shifted toward the man standing at the door. My chest tightened. 5 years had passed, yet I recognized him instantly. Daniel Carter. The partner who once called me brother. The man who stole my company, my investors, and nearly my future. He walked in slowly, as if nothing had happened. Expensive suit. Calm smile. The same smile he wore the night he signed the papers that erased my name from my own business. My fingers clenched under the table. The board members looked confused. Who invited him? Someone asked. No one answered. Then my boss gently lifted her shoulder from beneath my head. Her calm voice broke the silence. I did. The words struck the room like thunder. My heart pounded. For a moment, I felt that old betrayal again. The sleepless nights, the humiliation, the empty bank account. Was history repeating itself? Daniel stepped forward and placed a folder on the table. I think it is time we finish something we started, he said. His voice was smooth. Too smooth. Anger burned in my chest. 5 years ago, he destroyed everything I built. Now he stood in the headquarters of my new empire. But before I could speak, she placed her hand gently on my arm. Warm. Steady. The same quiet strength that once saved me on that rainy sidewalk. Listen first, she whispered. I looked at her, confused. She nodded slowly, as if she knew something I did not. Daniel opened the folder. Inside were documents, contracts, old financial records. The same records that once proved I had failed. My throat tightened. I came here, Daniel said slowly, to correct the biggest lie I ever told. The board members leaned forward. My pulse hammered in my ears. Then he slid one final document across the table toward me. I did not steal your company, he said quietly. I was forced to take it to protect you. The room exploded with whispers. Protect me? The words made no sense. I looked at my boss. She was not surprised. In fact, her eyes were calm, as if she had known this truth for a very long time. My hands trembled as I reached for the document, because at the bottom of the page was a signature I never expected to see, and the name written there changed everything I believed about my past. My hands froze above the paper. The signature at the bottom was not Daniel's. It was hers. My boss. The woman who believed in me when I had nothing. My mind struggled to breathe. Why is your name here? I asked quietly. The room had gone completely silent. She folded her hands on the table and looked directly into my eyes. There was no fear in her gaze, only truth. Because 5 years ago, she said softly, your company was about to be destroyed. My heart pounded harder. Destroyed? Daniel exhaled slowly. There were powerful investors behind the scenes, he said. They planned to bankrupt the company, then buy everything for nothing. Cold realization crept into my chest. Back then I believed Daniel betrayed me. I believed my dream collapsed because of greed. But now, a different story was unfolding. She leaned forward slightly. If they discovered you were the real founder, she continued, they would have buried you in lawsuits for years. I felt my pulse echo in my ears. So Daniel took the company, she said calmly. He became the villain. Daniel gave a tired smile. Someone had to protect the real dream, he murmured. My throat tightened. 5 years of anger. 5 years of believing the wrong story. You both planned this? I whispered. She nodded slowly. We let the company fall publicly, she said. Because sometimes the only way to save a dream is to let the world believe it died. Memories crashed through my mind. The humiliation. The empty apartment. The rainy night I nearly quit. Then the moment she appeared. With an umbrella. And a single sentence that rebuilt my courage. My chest ached. You knew I would rebuild? I asked. Her eyes softened. I knew your heart, she said. Daniel pushed another paper toward me. This, he said quietly, is the final piece. I looked down slowly. A legal transfer document. The company he once stole was being returned. Every share. Every patent. Every asset. My vision blurred. 5 years of struggle. Had built a billion-dollar empire. But this document meant something far deeper. Truth. Redemption. Forgiveness. My hands trembled as I picked up the pen. But before I could sign, the main screen in the conference room suddenly flickered on. A live news alert appeared, and the headline on the screen made my blood run cold. The headline burned across the screen. Federal investigation reopened, billion-dollar fraud case linked to Carter Industries. A wave of whispers rushed through the room. Every pair of eyes turned toward Daniel. His calm expression faded. Slowly, he sat down. I wondered how long it would take. He said quietly. My chest tightened. Take for what? I asked. He looked at me with the tired eyes of a man who had been carrying a secret for too many years for the truth to reach this room. My boss stood slowly. Her voice remained steady. This investigation was buried once, she said, but it was never finished. The screen continued flashing reports. Financial crimes. Hidden accounts. Shell companies. Then a name appeared. In bold letters. Victor Langford. The billionaire investor. Who once laughed in my face when I begged for funding. The same man who promised my company would fail. My stomach turned. Daniel nodded toward the screen. He was the one behind everything. He said, the investors who tried to destroy you worked for him. Cold anger spread through my chest. Victor Langford. The man who believed dreams could be bought and people could be broken. Why is this appearing now? A board member asked nervously. Daniel leaned back in his chair. Because 5 years ago, he said, I stole something from him. The room froze again. My voice came out barely above a whisper. What did you steal? Daniel looked directly at me. Proof. He reached into his briefcase and slowly pulled out a small silver flash drive. This contains every transaction, every illegal order, every plan he made to destroy your company. My heart pounded louder. Then why hide it for 5 years? I asked. Daniel gave a quiet, painful smile. Because 5 years ago, you were too weak to survive that war. His eyes shifted toward my boss. But she believed something. She believed I would become strong enough to face the man who once tried to erase my future. The room lights reflected off the silver drive in Daniel's hand. So now the question is simple. He said, do you want your company back? He slid the flash drive across the table toward me. Or do you want justice? My fingers hovered above the drive. Because choosing justice meant starting a battle against one of the most powerful men in the world. And just as I touched the flash drive, the conference room doors opened again, and Victor Langford himself walked in. The room froze. Victor Langford walked in, as if he owned the air we breathed. Tall, calm, untouchable. His silver hair caught the light from the conference screen. Behind him stood 2 lawyers and a security officer. The same man who once laughed at my dream now stood inside the company I built from ashes. My chest burned. For years I imagined this moment. Anger. Revenge. Victory. But standing there, Victor only smiled. "Impressive building," he said, glancing around the room. "Not bad for a man who once begged me for a loan." My fingers tightened around the flash drive. Daniel remained silent. My boss stood beside me, calm as ever. Victor slowly walked to the table and placed his hands on the polished wood. "You should be careful," he continued smoothly. "Playing with accusations can destroy a reputation." The board members shifted nervously. Power has a sound, and his voice carried it. Then he looked at Daniel. "I wondered when you would finally appear." Daniel leaned forward. "You knew this day would come." Victor chuckled softly. "Of course." His eyes moved toward the flash drive. "In my hand." "You really believe that tiny piece of metal can bring me down?" Silence wrapped around the room. I felt every heartbeat, every year of struggle, every night I refused to quit. I looked at my boss. She gave the smallest nod. Not fear, not pressure, only trust. The same trust she showed me on that rainy night, when I believed my life was over. Victor straightened his jacket. "Give it to me," he said calmly. "Walk away from this foolish idea." Then he leaned closer to me. "You already have billions." His voice lowered. "Why risk everything?" My mind raced. 5 years of rebuilding. 5 years of carrying anger that I did not fully understand. Now the truth sat in my palm. Justice or silence. My fingers closed tightly around the flash drive. Victor watched me carefully. The room waited. Then I slowly stood up. But before I could say a single word, my boss suddenly spoke. And the sentence she said next shocked every person in the room. "Victor Langford," she said calmly, "you are already too late." The room fell deeper into silence. Victor's confident smile flickered for the first time. "Too late for what?" he asked. She turned slightly and pointed toward the large screen. The news broadcast changed. A new headline appeared. "Federal prosecutors announce major financial arrest warrant." Victor's jaw tightened. Daniel leaned back slowly. "They finally moved," he said quietly. Victor looked back at me. "You think this changes anything?" he asked coldly. But my boss stepped forward. Her voice remained gentle, yet unshakably firm. "This investigation did not start today." She paused. "It started the night he lost his company." My heart skipped. The rainy night. The umbrella. The moment she appeared. When I believed everything was over. She looked at me now, with the same calm strength. "I did not meet you by accident," she said softly. "I was already investigating Victor." The truth struck me like lightning. "You were watching me?" I asked. She nodded once. "You were the only founder who refused to sell to him." Victor's expression darkened. Daniel slid another document across the table. "For 5 years," he said, "we gathered evidence. Quietly. Patiently." Victor laughed suddenly. But the confidence in his voice had cracked. "You have nothing that can hold me," he snapped. Then he looked at the flash drive. "Still in my hand. You would not dare." His voice had changed. Not powerful anymore. Desperate. Because the man who once controlled everything was now staring at something he could not control. Truth. My chest filled with something unfamiliar. Not anger. Peace. 5 years ago, I thought I lost everything. But standing in that room, I realized something greater. The struggle built me. The betrayal sharpened me. The woman beside me believed in my strength. Before I did, I slowly lifted the flash drive. Victor's eyes followed every movement. The board members leaned forward. The screen behind us continued flashing. Breaking news updates. Then my boss placed her hand gently over mine. Warm. Steady. You must choose carefully, she whispered. Because the moment you reveal that truth, your life will never be quiet again. The room held its breath. Victor waited. Daniel watched silently. And I realized something else I had never understood before. The flash drive was not the real weapon. The real weapon was the story hidden inside it. A story about powerful men who destroyed dreams, and the one mistake they made when they tried to destroy mine. I looked at Victor. Then I turned slowly toward the conference room screen. And the decision I made next would change far more than just my company. I walked slowly toward the conference room screen. The flash drive felt heavier with every step. Behind me, the room stayed perfectly still. Victor Langford watched, like a hunter waiting for his prey to hesitate. Think carefully, he said quietly. You built an empire. His voice carried a warning. You could lose everything. For a moment, his words echoed in my mind. 5 years ago, I had nothing. A broken company. An empty bank account. A dream people laughed at. Then I remembered something else. Cold nights. Sleeping beside my laptop. Cheap coffee. That tasted like survival. And the woman who stood beside me when everyone else walked away. I turned and looked at her. My boss. The one who gave me courage when I believed my life was finished. She did not speak. She did not pressure me. She only looked at me with quiet faith. The same faith that once rebuilt my future. My chest filled with calm. Victor believed power came from money. But he never understood something. Real power comes from truth. I reached the screen and plugged the flash drive into the port beneath it. Victor stepped forward quickly. You are making a mistake, he said sharply. But the system had already recognized the file. The screen flickered. A folder appeared. Daniel exhaled slowly behind me. This is it, he murmured. Inside the folder were hundreds of documents. Secret transactions. Illegal contracts. Audio recordings. And one video file. With a date. From 6 years ago. The night my first company collapsed. Victor saw the file name. For the first time, fear crossed his face. Do not play that, he said. His voice was no longer calm. It was desperate. The board members leaned closer. One of them whispered, "What is in that video?" Daniel answered quietly. The moment Victor ordered the destruction of this man's company. My heart pounded. Victor took another step forward. If you show that, he said, you will start a war. I looked at the screen. Then at him. A man who believed dreams could be crushed by power and money. But he forgot something. Struggle creates strength. And truth creates courage. My finger hovered over the play button. The room held its breath. Because the moment that video played, the world outside this building would hear the truth. And just before I pressed it, the phone on the conference table suddenly rang. My boss looked at the caller ID, and her expression changed. She slowly looked up at me and whispered something that made my heart stop. She whispered softly, "They are calling to negotiate before it all goes public." Victor froze. For the first time, he was uncertain. The man who believed he controlled everything was realizing the world had shifted. I looked at the video file, the recordings, the evidence of betrayal and corruption. And then I understood something vital. This was never about revenge. This was about truth. I pressed play. The room watched in silence. Victor's arrogance shattered as the truth of his actions played out on the screen. The board members gasped. Daniel exhaled slowly, and my boss simply smiled, her calm presence steadying me. Victor had underestimated one thing. Human integrity cannot be bought, manipulated, or stolen. By the end of the meeting, the legal authorities had confirmed everything. Victor faced consequences for the lives he tried to destroy. And I reclaimed not just my company, but my dignity, my faith in people, and the proof that hard work, honesty, and courage always rise above deceit. I looked at my boss. She had believed in me before anyone else. She taught me the quiet power of patience, loyalty, and wisdom. That day, I learned something far greater than business. Life will challenge you. People may betray you. You may feel broken, defeated, and exhausted. But with perseverance, honesty, and support from those who truly care, you can rise from the ashes stronger than before. Power, wealth, or fame mean nothing if you have not built character, courage, and integrity. I walked out of that room, not only as a billionaire, but as a man who had been tested and had discovered the truest strength: to forgive, to persist, and to act with heart. Because success is not measured by what you gain, but by how you rise when the world tries to break you. And that is a lesson I will never forget. If this story inspired you, hit the like button and share it with someone who needs hope today. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss another story that touches the heart, teaches courage, and shows the power of never giving up. Comment below. What would you have done in his place? I want to hear your thoughts and your story of perseverance. Remember, every setback is a setup for a stronger comeback. Your journey is just beginning.